me try this again. All right, perfect. We are officially live, guys. Can you can you get? Let's go. Let's go. So today's video is gonna be episode number 1. It's gonna be an introduction of something amazing that we're doing as a collaboration. We're gonna introduce ourselves in a minute, but today's all about mindset, right? You already know that they said that 90% of winning is mindset, 10% of it is actually the technicality of doing the actual work. So we're gonna pass the mic around and talk about how we've been able to build our mindset to today, right? And maybe talk about some of the struggles that we've gone through, because I know you watching out there may be or may have gone through some of the struggles that we may have encountered in the past. So I hope this is helpful to you. I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Leonardo Garcia real quick.
Sometimes you need to allow the storm to go through, then figure it out, then kind of like then think about it. We can't get, and I think that's part of mindset. That's one part of mindset is staying in control and not being emotional. So this topic, bro, I can talk about this all day. I study mindset. One of my favorite mentors when it comes to mindset is Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor is from Canada, and he recently passed away, I believe last year sometime at the age of 86, 87 years old. And that's all he talks about is mindset. So great topic, man.
That's it. So let's talk about some of the challenges that we see people encountering out there, the people that are in sales profession, people that are business owners, entrepreneur, right? So for example, I mean, some of the mindset is, for example, that has stopped me many times before, or several times, is that when something doesn't go your way and you're expecting a result right away, and it doesn't really quite necessarily happen, or maybe it doesn't go your way, or maybe you did a sale and the sale fell through, right? All right. So that mindset right there is how have you gentlemen, right? And I'll start with Leo first. Is how do you handle, let's call it, when something doesn't go your way, or you do not get that instant gratification that you're looking for? How do you handle that?
Well, like I said, through personal development, I don't have a microwave mentality anymore. I think that's one of the things that in society we're using a lot is we want something that we do and we want the instant result. You got instant noodles, you got microwave food. Nobody wants to bake a cake anymore. That takes time for the inside to actually get to that nice feeling and it tastes good. I've learned that patience is everything. And at the end of the day, like I said at the very beginning, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Maybe that wasn't the deal that was going to serve you and take you to the next level. Maybe that's not the person you were supposed to be talking to. My ways of looking at life, I get a lot of mentorship from the word. And, sometimes you do just have to be still and remember that he is God. So at the end of the day, don't get so upset. I don't get upset anymore when things just don't go my way, because you know what? I'm a part of the world. The world is not, I'm not the world. So sometimes things are supposed to happen in order to receive the other blessing. So sometimes things are not supposed to happen. Now, one of the ways I handle it when I was really, really, Mark hit it on the head. I was taught never to get too high or too low. Never get too excited. Even let's say you won the lottery, don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. You won the lottery, don't get too excited. You lost all your money, don't get too low. If you stay neutral and you really start to think about it and say, this is a blessing in disguise, this is not happening, like literally say it to yourself, this is not happening to me, it's happening for me. Whatever's to come after that is going to be different, because sometimes what's behind, you could find something positive through tragedy if you look for it. I hope that answers your question, John.
Bro, that was good. Now
That's it.
I usually say I live by this saying, hurry up and wait, meaning have patience. It's a thin line, John, Leo. It's a thin line between urgency, right, and having patience. It's a very thin line. Now, I always tell people, hurry up and wait. That means go at it 100%. Break furniture. But mentally, be prepared to wait for your gratification. You can't go to the wood and say, hey, look, I need fire. No, you you can't do that. You have to put some gasoline in there. You need to get some sticks and start, some straws and start, grinding to start that fire. You can't want instant gratification. Sometimes you have to wait. Now, the conversations we have with ourselves are the most important thing. And I always use this example. When you're by yourself and things are not going your way, and you're holding a conversation with yourself and not looking up for guidance, that's equivalent to you being in the forest and screaming for help. You will not, because you got yourself into this situation, it'll be challenging for you to get yourself out of the situation. Most of the time, you need to look up to someone who experienced what you're experienced and reach out to someone that's been to or been through what you're trying to go through. So it all goes back to mentorship, standing on the shoulder of the giants, because a lot of times people try to do it by themselves, and that's not the case, because the longer you stay having a conversation with yourself, the longer you're going to stay in that situation. You need to get unstuck.
Good. That was good, right?
That's right. You both mentioned about instant gratification, right? You both mentioned about getting the result or expecting the result right now. Now, I'll tell you a personal tip that has worked for me so far this year, man. Listen, I started taking like little seeds from the grocery store, like food that I actually eat, right? I started with something called, I think it's green peppers or something, or green onions. But they call it something else. And I started growing that because that's easy to grow and it's fairly quick to grow. Right, within like a few days, you see it regrows, and you cut it and reuse it and reuse it. And then I started planting things like avocado seeds. I went on YouTube and YouTube like how to plant avocado seeds. Dude, I got like 9 avocado, like at least like a foot or 2 feet tall right now in my backyard. Right? And I'm about to give them away. I just planted one. We just moved, so I planted one on the ground here. And that has taught me, man, patience. Right? Patience. It has taught me about discipline. Like every day you gotta water the plants, right? And then you start seeing the plants grow. Man, that is exciting. When you see those plants growing, that you've been babying, and you're like, man, my hard work is paying off, and that thing starts to sprout. That's exciting, right? And that has helped me with the mindset, and that has helped me with my patience, right? Because I'm what they call a millennial, right? I was born in the 90s. And one thing that I grew up with was I grew up with parents that spoiled me. Man, that is the worst thing you can do to anybody, right? Spoil your kids. Every time they say, hey, give me something, I used to cry and I used to get it the next day. So I thought I was an adult. I could cry and I get it the next day. I tried that. It was embarrassing. I don't think that works, man. So,
right. I'll tell you something, man, about that, about being spoiled. Yeah. I noticed when I first started in this business, in the industry, right? I noticed that my creativity came out of not having. Then when I did have the resources, I stopped being creative and I started spending more money. I think it's a catch-22. So you being spoiled kind of gave you the opportunity to manifest the thing that you want because you knew it was easy to get. So you could see it. So sometimes it depends on your environment, and sometimes it depends on how the message is relayed to you from your parents. So I would never have guessed that you grew up spoiled because of how hungry and determined you are. I would never guess that.
Right, he is.
Yeah,
I would never thought you were, because most people that are spoiled are not disciplined. You're very disciplined.
And he's great. And he's grateful. So I didn't see that coming. So that's something I learned about you today, man.
You want to know how I get out of it?
How did you get out of it?
I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you this. I remember when I first met, who was not my wife, right? She was my girlfriend. I met her when I was 16. I ain't gonna say her age, right? Because she go to prison. No, I'm just kidding. She was 20, right? But it was okay. It was consent. It was consent. I know it's not popular nowadays, but I remember when I first met her, man, I was dead broke. I had nothing. I was a 16-year-old broke kid, right? And every time we went out to eat, she would pay. Dude, I thought it was normal, right? I thought it was normal. And then I grew up, right? I started getting discipled by my pastor at the age of 17, going 18, and then he started teaching me what a true man is, right? And a man is a provider. He cares for their loved ones, right? For their spouses and their kids, and he provides to them, right? Among other things. But I had to reprogram myself, man. It took me years to reprogram myself from that instant gratification. Because I thought, hey, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to become rich right away. Man, that has not worked out for me that well yet. Right?
That comes from that analogy of Mike Tyson. Everything's all good until you get punched in the mouth. You just got to get up, man.
That is it. So, yeah.
Tell everybody the dream is free. But it doesn't come without hustle. Hustle sold separately. Dream is free, hustle sold separately.
That's dead on, man. That is dead on. So that mindset right there, man, and especially nowadays, because we see that if you guys notice, ever since what happened in 2020, right, there has been a high percentage of people that are leaving their day jobs, right, and they're going more into the entrepreneurship route. They're going through the hustle route because there's so many opportunities, right? There's so many opportunities. It's hard to know which ones are good and which ones are not. Right? Well, it's hard to know which one you're going to like, which one you're not. But guess what? The good news is there's a lot of opportunities. The other great news is you can get access to them. Right? Now, the hard news is this. Most people go to an entrepreneurship world with an employee mindset. Right? They're expecting that they're going to show up and they're going to get paid. Man, I tried that many times. I said I would go to the office every single day and money's going to walk in. That has not worked out that way, right? So now I don't have an office. I work from home. I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to put in the work, might as well be on my PJs, right? Or my underwear. But that's TMI. Right? But listen, the reality is this, man. When you go into this world with the mindset is what's going to set you apart. Right? Because you could go in with the most education, the most training, but if you do not know how to handle the number one thing that kills people, man, is rejection. So let's talk about that for a minute, right? Because that's a big part of mindset. It's not so much what happens to you, but what matters is how you react to things that happen to you or for you, like Leo said, right? Because nothing happens to you. You're not a victim. If you're a victim, trust me, don't be self-employed. Just go get a job, get a mommy and daddy that pays you a paycheck on Friday. All right? Entrepreneurship is not for babies. All right? You got to be a big girl or big man to do this. So let's talk about that. Rejection, man. How do you handle rejection? Let's start with Leo real fast, man.
Rejection is not really rejection. The word that I probably hear in business is the word no. And to me, honestly, the word no just means not right now. it's all on how you layer things out. I don't think what I do, everybody needs in some facet of a way. Whether it's used for retirement, whether it's used for when that day comes, it's needed. So it's not a matter of no, it's a matter of not right now. So it doesn't matter what it is. Even, for example, at one day in my life, I want a Rolls Royce. Just because I can't go there, and if I go there with my credit score now, they're gonna tell me no. I'm just saying, oh, not right now. I'll be back when it's time. Everything is doing its time, and not every client is your client at that moment. So I don't see rejection as a big deal. To me, it's just really not right now. Now I'll be honest with you. When I got into the industry, because I thought everybody needed it, because of the things I've gone through, I thought it was different. I'm like, how could you say no? It was like crazy. But you got to remember, you got to meet people where they're at. And as long as you have empathy and you understand people's situation, you can, I mean, sometimes it's just an excuse, but honestly, it just means not right now. I don't take any of that personal because they're not saying no to me. They're saying no to themselves. That's the way I see it. When someone says no, they're saying no to themselves. They're not saying no to me. So if they can live with it, if they like it, I love it. It's entirely up to them. That's to me, that's poor mindset on their end, not mine. That's what I can, and I'm here to help. And if you can't see that, then who are you really saying no to?
Exactly.
That's the truth, man.
So
That's right.
So I have an unfair advantage, and when I say that, I mean I came from poverty. So as I grew up, I was used to my mom and daddy telling me no, 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 everything. I remember when the Nintendo came out, my parents told me no. My neighbors, I thought my neighbors were rich because they had all the toys in the world. They had the G.I. Joe, the Transformers. We didn't even have color TV at the time. So me hearing no I was numb to it. So that means I need to do a better job convincing or telling my parents a story in order for me to get what I want. Even through middle school and high school, when me wanted to date women, no, rejection, no. Okay, that means that they don't know much about me. They need to know more. Okay, so let me let them know more. So what I used to do, I was so numb to it. If a woman was telling me no right there, I'll go to a friend and ask her friend for a number. That's how bold I was at the time. And I look at myself now. I'm like, you know what? Me going through what I went through as a child, hearing no and being numb to it, it prepared me for entrepreneurship. And I'm gonna piggyback off of what John said earlier about the 2020 after COVID. That was a wake-up call for a lot of people who thought they had it great, and they thought they had control. They thought they had it going on. But the true American dream is freedom, being able to work when you want to work, being able to take your family out when you want to, being able to go wherever you want to, be able to go to vacation not once a year but 3-4 times a year. That's my real definition of the American dream. The entrepreneurship is amazing. It's not for everyone, but if you want it bad enough, if you could have the right mindset, overcome rejection, go through adversity, I think this is a calling for you if you can. So what are some of I'm gonna ask you guys, what are some of the skills that people can adapt to a better mindset, overcoming rejection and going through adversity? What kind of skills can they, or what type of tactics or strategies or books can they read, or even YouTube videos? Because I know, John, you're very big in self-development, and Leo yourself, y'all like to share it. So what would you recommend for some of these people that's watching this now?
For sure. So the first thing I'm going to say, I'm going to piggyback on this part here when you said about when a woman says no, right? Hey, just full disclaimer, man, full disclosure. We're not saying go be a stalker now, all right? We don't want to see your mugshot on the newspaper, all right? Because and then you're going to come and say that Marc said it, right? That's not how it goes. So you're putting that little disclaimer out there, right? To become a stalker now. But yeah, some of the things to answer your question, Mark, that how to overcome the part of the rejection, because that part when someone tells you no, don't feel good. All right, and it could be debilitating. Sometimes it could be debilitating to the point of freezing and paralyzing someone mentally and even physically, right? Because it does not feel good at all. All right, but listen, I will say this: if they rejected the one perfect holy man that walked this earth, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, if they rejected him, man, listen, we don't stand a chance. All right. So what the Bible says is when you get rejected, dust off polish off the dust off your sandals and go to the next city. All right. Someone tells me no, guess what? Hey, no problemo. Have a nice day. Next. Move on. Let it dead. Let that feeling go. It's not personal. It is not about you. All right. And even if it was personal, don't take it personal. Don't be attached to anything. Right. One thing with this is what most entrepreneurs take rejection so hard is they go in with a commission breath. They go in with, I want to make a close, I want to make a sale. Listen, I used to be like that. All right. What I found out is that don't work, man. People detect it. People can smell that coming right after them. And what I did that works for me and that I see work for other people is this. When you go to serve people, go with the mindset of serving them and find out if you can truly serve them. To the point that when I'm doing a sales presentation, right from the beginning, when the first 5 minutes, I tell them, listen, what I'm going to show you here today is to find out if this is the right fit for you or if it's not. And if it is, I will tell you. And if it's not, I'll be the first one to tell you this is not a good fit for you. Sounds fair? Now I've detached myself from the outcome. And I'm truly going in there with a servant mindset. Can I serve you? Will this be helpful for you? And sometimes I've done it. This ain't the right time for you. And I will tell them, and I will give them some tips of what they can go do. Now rejection doesn't get affected that hard. All right. But Leo, I know Leo got some tips, man. How would you handle that?
I could testify that everything you said is true because when I really met you, at first you said, I don't know if this is for you. You have what it takes, but I don't know if this is for you. You were really honest. You were in the cusp, like, yeah, he can, but something's blocking. But here we are. We become best of friends. So I can testify that's very true. Me is a lot like Mark. I grew up in Manhattan, Washington Heights. I heard no a lot. Man, we're not even going to get into the stories. So I was a little numb to that. But what I did learn through time that helps you, Mark, to answer your question is when I was introduced to people like Miles Monroe, listening to him, Miles Monroe was one of those things that it was like a breath of fresh air because it wasn't really, the man is a pastor, but I didn't feel like he was ministering to me. It was a message. Les Brown. One of Les Brown's things that really stuck with me throughout life was, you're going to fall, right? If you fall, make sure you land on your back because if you could look up, you can get up. You're going to fall a lot of times in this world. So lessons like that, those little quotes that people put on Facebook, it's funny to me. People post them, but I don't know if they live by them. If you see me post something like, if you fall on your back, look, it's okay. Make sure you fall on your back because if you can look up, you can get up. Now, if you're looking down, you can't get up. You know what I'm saying? There's nowhere to go up. What they tell you when you're skiing or you're riding a bike when you first start, don't look down because you go where you're gonna go exactly where you're looking. So it's like one of those things to stay focused. I learned that if you listen, see, people hear you. This is a very, very technical part right now that I feel has really changed my life. Listening, not hearing, sounds can be heard. But when you're listening, things can be learned. And it's a big difference. So, I've gotten ahead of myself, even talking to you, Mark. I give you a lot of credit for this. There's times we're talking, even as friends, and there's a moment that you're going to give me a mentorship. Like, you'll ask me a question, and I'm answering it before you even ask, and you're like, and you already stopped me, like, you're not listening. Because if you listen, Mark said it the other day, sometimes I'm on track where I could finish the sentence, but not all the time. And if he's trying to give me a lesson, like, don't touch that because it's red and red means hot. And I'm like, if I don't stop and listen, I'm going to end up burned. So sometimes I think that is the main thing that's changing me, is learning how to stop, because I'm always on the go and I always want to run and I always want to be right and I always want to get things done. Like from the book we're reading right now, that get things done. Like I had that mentality, like you give me something, I got to do it now. Sometimes you got to stop, listen, analyze the message. What lessons can I learn and spit out the bones, as you say? That's what it was for me.
Powerful. Now, sometimes I learned this from being around, listening to people, that the messages could be so simple, it'll go over people's head because they're looking for something new and profound. Some of the cliche things, like you said, you went back to my early days. You went back to Miles Monroe. You went back to Les Brown. If you go back and listen to the stuff they were saying, I mean, it was simple messages, but it got to us. A lot of times people are numb to listen to these wise people like Les Brown and Miles Monroe. They're looking for the next profound message. And sometimes if you stop and think about what you just heard and process it, really process it, some of the simplest messages is the most profound. We just got to just sit tight and just listen. And I always tell people, I always ask people this, since you talked about Jesus and God, how do God communicate with you or to you? And I always tell people, for me, he brings people to come speak to me. He brings messages. The simplest stuff that's being told to me is a message from the man. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's all about having patience. It's all about, I'm going to say it again, stand on the shoulders of giants, mentorship, because I like to keep things simple. I'm not a man of too much words. So I like to keep it real simple so people can understand, just like a fifth grader. That's some of the most profound experience I've ever had by doing the simple stuff, waking up at a certain time and continue doing and following the system. A lot of people are not doing that. They're afraid to, especially entrepreneurs, guys. When you give someone that has structure too much time in it, guess what? They're gonna feel too free and not do anything. They're gonna be paralyzed. So we have to be careful when it comes to not having structure and discipline. I know that's both of you guys. One of y'all strengths is having discipline and structure. So, I mean, that's what it's all about.
That's it, man. That's it. You guys hit it right on. And you mentioned something right there, Mark, that obviously, one, the fastest way to success, the biggest shortcut, the biggest hack, the biggest secret kept for men, right, is get a mentor, man. A mentor, not just a mentor, right? Because this is the other mistake that I see people making, is that they go and get a mentor. Oh, someone that knows something. No. You want to go to a mentor that has the results that you want to have. You want to go and be with someone that's going to help you pull up, right? Let's say, for example, if you go and have a ladder, right? You're not going to go to a mentor that's in the same step as you. You want to go to the mentor that's at least 2 steps ahead of you, right? Because what's happening nowadays is there's a lot of people calling themselves mentors and coaches that they haven't done absolutely nothing with their life, all right? Other than fail so many times and they know what people are they fail so many times that they know the pain points from people. So they go and they become a coach, a mentor on that end, but they haven't quite acquired the results of what they're mentoring on, all right? So, and another thing is that I'm seeing lately, that I've noticed it a few times, even from people that I know for years, is that you reach out to them or they reach out to you. Matter of fact, I had a few people reach out to me recently, and I asked them, hey, man, how's business going? And they say, oh, still trying to figure it out. I'm like, dude, what do you mean still trying to figure it out? All right? So you got to be careful with what you're consistent on. Everybody's consistent. Everybody has discipline. The only thing is that most people, the discipline and the consistency they have is in the things that are not going to get them different results. It's going to keep getting them the same results of what they've been getting now. So a quick way to analyze if you have to adjust where you're walking and what your consistency and daily habits are is, dude, look at your bank account, man. Look at where you are. Look at what you want to accomplish and look around. Do you have the things that you want? And I'm not saying don't be ungrateful, right? You got to be grateful for what you have, because, listen, the biggest thing to be grateful for today is the fact that you have air in your lungs, that your heart's beating, all right? Everything above that is grace, buddy, All right. So the one thing I always recommend is this: look around. Are you where you want to be? All right. Now look around and analyze your day. Look at what you have done today. Look at what you did yesterday. Is doing that same thing tomorrow going to help you to where you want to go? If the answer is no, man, it's time to change. It is time to change 100%. So,
and you don't have to wait till New Year's to do it. Every day is a new year. You can start tomorrow.
So for you're the guy that called you, John, that's trying to figure it out. There's a simple solution for that, man. There's somebody in his space doing exactly what he want to do, and he's afraid, or he has the ego, and he don't want to humble himself and ask for guidance because somebody figured it out. And once you copy the right, because this world is all about copycats. You have to copy the right cat, though. Once you find the right cat to copy, game over. There's nothing else to figure out. Is that simple?
That's it. And it's funny because the person that contacted me the other day, they contacted me, by the way, for help. Boom. It had to happen. It's not normal if it doesn't happen. Listen, but what I find interesting is that the person that contacted me for help, right? They were contacting me for help because they know what I do.
Good.
All right. His mentor is also broke. All right.
Mentor. That's
all right. It's like the Bible says the blind cannot lead the blind. All right. How's that going to end up? You got two blind men walking towards a ditch. Who's gonna alert? And I know for you guys out there, yes, I know blind people, they can see more than most people that have a vision. All right. Because they can actually do whatever they do. Right. I don't know about that stuff. I've closed my eyes sometimes and pretended to be blind just so I know in case it ever happens, God forbid. So I have my respect to that. But the whole point with when the Bible says the blind lead the blind is meaning that if someone doesn't know where they're walking to, if someone doesn't know the path of where you want to go, why the heck are you following that person, man? All right.
They say you're an average of the 10 people you're around. If you're around the same people and they all have the same, you just keep yourself average. I don't know about you guys. I don't want to live average.
If you don't know what your future looks like in 5 years, that's how. How it looks now, that's how it's going to be in 5 years.
Boom. And the same way that it looked 5 years ago, that's exactly how it's going to look if you're doing the same exact thing. All right. But the good news is this, guys. Listen, we don't want to be bearer or bad news, but we also have to give you an awakening. All right. If you look around, whatever the situation is that you want change, if it hasn't changed in the last year, 2 years, or however long you've been working on it, you just have to change what you're doing every day. It's not really that difficult. And the other thing is that, for example, look, I want six packs. I want to be ripped. I want to be jacked. My mentor is Jack. He's ripped, has the mansion, the beach mansion in Miami. He has 11 cars, right? His name is Jado's Fitness, by the way. Feel free to go follow the guy. That's my mentor right there. So that man has what I want. Guess who I listen to? Him.
That's right.
If he says, John, do this, as long as it's ethical and it doesn't go against morals and my beliefs with the scriptures, I'll do it. And everything he has,
but John, there's a catch-22 right there. There's certain people that want what Jados has, but they're going to psych their mind and say, you know what, that's not in my belief, that's not in my principles. They could talk themselves into or out of any situations. But you, John, you made a decision to follow him because he has the path. So it's all about mindset. It takes you back to mindset. You have to make a decision on this is what you want to do, no matter what.
Ooh, that's it, man. That's it. That's the biggest shortcut, right? Guess what?
I dropped the mic moment.
That's it. So just commit. Do you really, really want it? Right? If you knew in your mind that you couldn't fail, what would you be doing right now?
Everything.
And if the answer is something different to what you're doing now, drop what you're doing and start doing what you truly want to do. All right? You know how many times I see people, like, for example, I got to be careful what I say, but I am in certain associations in this planet, church. All right? And I love my people from church, but I've learned to segment the people from church. All right? I remember the first time I became an entrepreneur and I started working on my mindset, I stopped going to church. Because most people at most churches think like poor people. They think like the world. They lack faith, right? So you know the Bible says by their fruits you will know them, all right? So what I started doing in my mind is like, I already know people from church, is people from church. And even inside the people from church, I got segmentations. Because there's people at church and there's people who have a relationship with God. Going to church ain't gonna save you. I could go to the bathroom and still crap my pants. If you don't pull out them pants and sit on that toilet, you're gonna poop your pants. That's how it goes. Same thing with church. All right, so I got segmentations inside segmentations. And I will take it even a little bit farther than that. Is I know people with specialties and I segment them based on their specialties. If I know that's not your specialty, I ain't going to you for advice on that. But I know what you're good at, so I'm going to go to you for that. All right? So that's the part right there, man. We got to know who we're listening to. And the way you know who you should be listening to is based on the results that they've been able to obtain. And I don't care what title you got. Nope. You could be the Pope. There's popes that go to hell every time. All right? That's just how it is. All right? But you're saying I ain't going to mess with no Pope right now. The biggest religion in the world.
Hey, John, man, you took me back, man. I remember when I first started, when I quit my job by 9 to 5, and I went door knocking in the community in sales. I was training this woman, and she used to carry her Bible with her. And she used to be in fear to knock on the door. I said, look, what are you afraid of? You think something's going to happen to you? Nothing's going to happen to you. You have to have faith. Like myself, it taught me to have faith because I was afraid of big dogs at one time. And that same woman I took to the house, I told her, I said, look, I have a fear of big dogs, but guess what? I believe in something bigger than myself. He's not going to allow something bad to happen to me. How about 10 doors later, it was a Great Dane jumped on me in the house. And guess what? I was not afraid because I knew nothing was going to happen to me because I'm protected. So having faith and belief is very, very important in this business, in any business, in entrepreneurship. You have to have a lot of faith in yourself especially when you quit your 9 to 5.
That's it. That's right, man. I love you said that, man. I love you said that. Because if it happened to you, it didn't happen to you. It happened for you. All right? Now you got to stop in the middle of chaos and wonder. Ask yourself, if this situation that God, if you truly walk in the fear of God, you're protected by God, right? So if there's a situation that you're going through in life right now, what you should be asking yourself is, now, God, why me? That's the way you should have what most people ask. God, why me? Oh, me, the little baby, right? No, what you should be asking yourself is, God, what are you trying to teach me here? And especially if it happens over and over and over and over. There's a lesson you haven't learned. It's like you're not going to the next grade until you pass the exam from this grade you're on right now. All right? So God is going to keep putting that baby on rewind until you figure it out. All right? So ask yourself, what do I need to learn from the situation? What level of maturity must I have to get to the next level? Like I told Yados, my mentor, and I'm going to drop him here in a minute, I told him my goal financially. And I know he makes at least 10 times more than that number. It's not a big number. And he didn't blink. He didn't breathe. There was no pause. He goes, John, what do you want that money for? And then he said, John, if you have nothing exactly what you want that money for, you're never going to get it. All right? He just bought himself a couple of months ago, I think like 2 or 3 months ago, he bought himself a $1.5 million Bugatti. And he said, John, I could have bought that cash, but I didn't. He said that on his social media, not to me, but I was thinking like he's talking to me, right? It's like at church when the pastor's talking and you like the message. That's to me. Let's go. I'll put my name on that puppy, right? But listen, you got to know what you're going for. So now I just had to move for the 3rd time. I put a little personal something out there. I had to move my entire family, my wife and my 3 kids, from a house. We're renters. And I told my wife, this is the last time I rent. This is the last year I rent. Why? Because this is the 3rd time we had to move, because the person that owned the house, and in this case, this word has a lot of power, the landlord, I felt like I had a lord for a minute. I'm like, dude, I haven't had a job or a master or someone to answer to since 2017. But now I got to move my entire house, not because I want to, but because the landlord said I gotta move. So now, the reason why I'm gonna make this money is if the bank's gonna approve me by next year, this time next year, I'm buying the puppy cash. And I don't care how much the house is. All right? So now I got a reason, a tangible reason in my heart. Now I'm pissed off. I'm like, ain't no man gonna tell me when I gotta move my family. All right? I was pissed for a split second. You don't lose character, right? But now I got a very solid reason to go make that money, because when I make that money, I could save that money for 3 months and buy me more than $500,000 house cash. All right? So that's my why right there, man.
So, John, I always tell people, when you have a goal, you need 2 chips on your shoulder to keep you balanced. You need one, a big why, usually it's your family. But there's another one that has to be anger, passion. Somebody pissed you off in order to drive you to get to your goals. And you have 2 chips, 2 major chips on your shoulders. And I know you're going to achieve that goal of buying that house, even if it's cash. And I believe it because you spoke it with passion, because you have a reason to now.
That's right.
You spoke about the Lord, the landlord. Oh, man, bro, you got me.
I never heard that before. I never heard that before.
Lord. Yes.
The landlord, man. I was like, oh, Jesus. This is like when I had a job back in the days. And I had a boss that told me when I had to be there, when I could use the bathroom, when I had to leave, and when I could take a day off for whatever reason. I felt that little. I'm like, dude, that ain't never going to happen. I never want a man putting their thumb on me, right? And everybody on this planet should have it, because the Bible says we're free, right? And the Bible says in Genesis that God made us to rule over this planet, not the planet to rule over us. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to cut it off right here. If you're liking what you're hearing, go ahead and like this channel, subscribe. Make sure you follow us on our social media. Look in the description below. Our social media channels are going to be there. Make sure to follow. We're going to start bringing some very powerful guests into this podcast live for you to become better, right? So just be on the lookout. We're going to bring some amazing guests that are really going to impact your life, your lifestyle, where you live, right? What you get to eat tonight, right? Where you get send your kids to school at, right? What you could buy your wife every time she wants something. Things like that that's going to make your life better. All right? They say money don't make you happy, but neither being broke. So if you're going to be happy, be in the back of a Lambo. All right? So, guys, any last words? We're going to wrap up this puppy right here.
It's real easy. From me to you, nothing happens to you. Things happen for you.
Hey, guys, let's stand on shoulders of giants so we can be successful.
That's it. Let's make it happen. Make sure to follow. Great first podcast, guys, and the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Let's go.